The N64 is filled with tons of quality games, and if you mention the N64 or want to talk about its best games, one developer will always pop up into the conversation: Rare. This was the golden age of Rare that gave us banger after banger of incredible IPs. So many people pick and choose their favorites, so this is my own personal ranking of all 11 Rare games on N64. And just a quick reminder, be sure to drop a like in this video and smash that subscribe button so you can catch my future uploads. Without further ado, starting off this list, number 11, Blast Corps. The concept for Blast Corps is something every small boy has imagined at some point. It's all about using cool vehicles to destroy stuff. A simple concept, but it certainly can be fun. The graphics and music are okay, nothing too special for me, which plays a major factor. If you didn't tell me this was made by Rare, I'm not sure I would know. The vibe is almost reminiscent of a game like Rampage more than a Rare game. And while I do find most of the gameplay fun and the vehicles a blast to use, one of the biggest reasons why this one is one of my least favorite Rare titles on the 64 is because of one major contributing factor: the freaking vehicle known as Backlash. I, for the life of me, can't really understand how to use this one. It does almost no damage to buildings driving straight into them and requires you to drive and then slide in a circular motion, smashing your back end into the building. Easier said than done. You know how when old games had stiff controls, we would call them tank controls? Like Resident Evil? Well, we are basically driving a tank, and those controls would be so welcome. I could never grasp the concept of this particular vehicle, and for that reason, it created a lot of needless frustration. A lot of others had a similar issue based on what I see online, so it hits the bottom of my list. It's not for the sole reason of that vehicle, but also just the rest of the game isn't as strong as the others on this list. Now let's press on to number 10, Killer Instinct Gold. I doubt this is a surprise. My contender that was closely in front of Blast Corps is Killer Instinct Gold. I'm not a major fighting game enthusiast. I have some certain ones I really loved and adored growing up, but I'd be hard pressed to buy a fighting game brand new these days aside from Super Smash Bros. Killer Instinct also happens to be one of those fighting series I don't really have a whole lot of nostalgia for. Sure, I have played several in the series and enjoyed my time with them, but you don't see me screaming for a new entry really. Just not really my cup of tea. I can, however, appreciate the unique cast of characters and decently fast combo system. I know this particular entry isn't regarded as one of the better ones, but it does manage to pull enough charm and engage me enough to have fun with it for a bit. It's just not going to be able to keep up with anything else on this list for me. Which leads me to number 9, Mickey Speedway USA. After recently playing through this for my video, Mickey Speedway is a competent and rather good-looking kart racer with good music. I found myself replaying and embracing the nostalgia because I did have this one as a kid. I don't know how I got it, I don't remember when I got it, but I certainly had it and I did enjoy it. The tracks take place all across America as the name suggests, and they have a varying degree of quality. Replaying this in a modern time highlights the mechanics of the game. It takes a bit to get into, but when you do, the game gets fast and it's just a blast to play. You'll be drifting and exploring for shortcuts on every track, trying to push for first place. It unfortunately feels more Disney than Rare, even though the Rare's certain brand of quality is certainly here. It's a fun kart racer for sure, but not as iconic as other Rare titles, so I had to put it toward the bottom of my list. Number 8, Jet Force Gemini. I feel like now we're getting into the space of Rare games people really start to argue about the placement of and question what I say. Feel free to argue in the comments. And don't get me wrong, Jet Force Gemini has so many great qualities. The third-person shooter action gameplay, it feels really good even with one stick and C buttons. The weapon variety is a blast with tons of options, and the music is banging. That main theme lives in my head rent-free. The game is also littered with Rare charm and connective Rare universe stuff. I mean, who doesn't want to play as a dog with a giant machine gun on its back and rocket feet? It's awesome. Where it's held back for me is honestly the endgame, where you must go back and collect all of the tribals to complete the story and get all the ship parts. There are a lot of tribals to collect, and they can be hurt by friendly fire. If that happens, you need to restart the collection on that level. It's a needlessly tedious task on an incredibly fun game. It's such a fun game otherwise, with a lot of cool ideas and a creative atmosphere. I really loved blasting away alien ant creatures, and especially finding this guy's underpants. Number 007, GoldenEye. Now, if Jet Force Gemini started the debates and arguments for people, I feel putting GoldenEye here at number 7 is really going to grind people's gears. To that I say, how do we rank masterpieces? Something has to give. GoldenEye is a fantastic game that revolutionized the first-person genre. Bullet holes making patterns in walls, incredible detail. Hitting hats and helmets off enemies? Hilarious detail. Everything exploding? Epic as heck. This game is probably one of the definitive movie license games. The level design, gameplay, animations, and music are all masterfully crafted. And you throw multiplayer madness into the mix, it's a blast. But this being a movie license game is part of the reason I put it further down on this list. The rare charm I love is here slightly, but it's not as strong. You don't have silly, over-the-top cartoony moments or references to other Rare titles. It's a movie license game. It's very fun, but an original IP using this formula would make it higher in this list for me personally. Which is exactly why I put Perfect Dark above it at number 6. Perfect Dark is just about everything I loved about GoldenEye, but rewrapped in a sci-fi plot with more Rare charm. And if you're going to say it's just as serious, we have an alien that wears an American flag tank top. Everything here is so much fun, and the story and objectives feel more spy-ish than GoldenEye. You have a super colorful cast of characters ranging from an alien named Elvis to Mr. Blonde, an alien in disguise, to an artificial intelligence named Dr. Carol. The level design is also incredible, with places like Air Force One, top secret bases, and a freaking alien ship. I also felt GoldenEye had a lot more simplified objectives, where missions in Perfect Dark got a bit complex and silly, like take an outfit from a scientist and infiltrate Area 51 looking for an alien body with your infrared tool. It's pretty epic like that all the way through, and adds a bunch of Rare silliness that somehow blends with the slightly more serious tone otherwise. I love that stuff. Not to mention the graphics are just a bit better looking. Everything about Perfect Dark screams like an improvement over GoldenEye, and that's why I put it above it. For me though, the first-person genre just isn't quite as entertaining as platformers, so moving on to my number 5, it's Conker's Bad Fur Day. What can I say? Conker, it's a one-of-a-kind gem. You'd be hard-pressed to find any game that really plays and acts like Conker. It's filled with movie references, dirty jokes, and creative ideas. Every level in this game is a treat, even if there is a difficulty spike. In a world of platformers, the mature theme of Conker totally makes it stand out. You'll be laughing and having a good time throughout, even if you're failing. Answer me this, what kind of game would have a boss made out of poop that sings opera? Conker. That's it. And the multiplayer? It's top tier, with a variety of game modes that are so much fun with friends. Not to mention the graphics are undeniably next level on the N64. Few titles look this good on the console. And that Rare charm, this game arguably has some of the most Rare charm of any of them. Where its gameplay may not be as strong as others on this list, its charm certainly is, which solidifies its number 5 spot. And having a banger of a soundtrack from Robin Beanland certainly helps. To this day, Conker's Bad Fur Day is one of the most memorable games on the console. I saw someone the other day talk about how the game doesn't have a wide variety of gameplay, and to that I say, this is the most variety of gameplay I've ever seen. It's got lava hoverboard racing, urinating on rock people, Matrix-style bullet dodging, the list goes on. This game is ridiculous. Number 4, Diddy Kong Racing. Kart racer games aren't exactly rare on the N64, but it doesn't get much more rare than Diddy Kong Racing. This game is arguably the best kart racer of all time. It has really fun game mechanics, a stackable item system, fun colorful graphics, multiple vehicles, and such an incredible cast, including our Banjo and Conker's first appearances. I think you'd be really hard pressed to find anyone who doesn't like Diddy Kong Racing who's played it. Racing to save an island from a giant space pig, it's amazing. The fact this game has an adventure story mode really adds so much value and uniqueness to it. The multiplayer is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but having a story and giving you reasons to do things and have boss races just made this game feel more special. All the tracks are designed masterfully and have very cool themes, from dinosaurs to a winter wonderland. The music is also the toppest of tiers. Every track is an absolute banger, and most of all, the main theme that captures the uniqueness of the quirky cast right from the get-go. For this holiday season, I definitely was listening to Frosty Village in my car. This is certainly an incredible game, and I love it. But not as incredible as number 3, Banjo Kazooie. Now, I know the placement of this one in particular will probably irritate people. In this world, there are 2 types of people, fans of Banjo Kazooie and people who don't want to admit they are fans of Banjo Kazooie. The gameplay is basically Mario 64, but better. The music is basically Beethoven's Fifth, but better. And the graphics are bright and colorful like an interactive cartoon, but better. Somehow this game takes the plot of Snow White, makes it about an anthropomorphic bear, and totally succeeds in everything it does. Seriously. Virtually every level is designed in such a way to utilize Banjo-Kazooie's moveset to the fullest, and it makes you want to explore. It's got just about the perfect amount of collectibles and uses them exactly how they need to be used. You feel like every collectible has its purpose and is necessary to beat the game. And of course, this game oozes rare charm. Banjo is a 10 out of 10. It's hard to fault it. In fact, this and the next game on the list I kept swapping back and forth until finally deciding, you know what? I gotta go with my heart, and my heart says Donkey Kong 64 is number 2. What can I say? I have so much nostalgia for this one. This is the first video game I ever owned that was my own. I received this with my N64 on Christmas of 1999, and it changed the course of my life forever. I love this game. It has some of the best graphics on the console, and the same composer who did Banjo did the soundtrack of DK64, and it still feels so unique. Every time I play this game, I feel like a kid again, and I know having tons of collectibles is a drag for some, but I find collecting everything relaxing, even if you get the occasional stinky minigame. And every single Kong is unique and special in my eyes. I loved playing as all of them and seeing how they differed and what abilities they could get to set them apart. Turning into a giant hunky chunky, shrinking down tiny, and flying around with Diddy's jetpack, this game created so many adventures for me, and of course it provided hours upon hours of entertainment for me as a kid, just exploring and looking for new things to collect. Even though not every level is consistent in its level of quality, the ones that shine really shine, and the overall tone and atmosphere of the game is a 12 out of 10. The vibes of the game perfectly merge Banjo-Kazooie with Donkey Kong Country, and I know that isn't for everyone, but for me, it's perfect. And even if I was way too good at the multiplayer against my friends, I still had fun playing it. I love this game so much. But what could be better, you ask? My number 1 slot? Banjo-Tooie. Not only is this my favorite Rare game on the N64, but it's also one of my favorite games, period. It's everything I loved about Banjo, but with enhanced gameplay and way better graphics. You had all the moves you had in Banjo-Kazooie, and they piled more on top of it, and more items, and a boss fight in every world. All the bosses are colorful, unique, and so much fun to face. I always looked forward to finding one. The actual level design is varying, but most levels are so well crafted and incredible, not to mention huge. I personally find them all very fun, and they each give you a unique transformation as well that was a step up from the transformations in Kazooie. The new characters introduced added to the world building and lore of the game. They all feel right at home, and they even expanded upon characters from the first game, giving them more depth. This is the first game I remember being blown away that my shadow was an actual shadow of Banjo-Kazooie rather than a circle on the ground. It also introduced many mature themes to me as a kid, like death, in a way that didn't really scare me, aside from King Jingaling becoming a zombie. Oof. And this game also has fun multiplayer. I'm glad it did. The music of this game is one of the soundtracks of my childhood. I will sometimes pop it on in the car as I'm driving. There isn't much more of a vibe than Jinjo Village. Banjo-Tooie will stand tall as my favorite Rare game on the N64, and I am not ashamed. It's why I defend it, and Donkey Kong 64. Do you agree with my list? What is your personal ranking? Let me know in the comments below. And that's all I have for you. Please once again drop a like to help support my content and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my future uploads. Until next time, have a good one. Jiggylookback!